Now, my people, you may be hearing about the Hong Kong protest, and when you watch the Western media, you start hearing them talking about China trying to bring their communism to Hong Kong. They hate freedom. They do this. They do that. Please, no war is ever fought because of freedom. No. No war is an ideological war. Ideology is what they use to brainwash the people into fighting for them, which is doing the bidding of the fat cats. When do nations go to war? Nations go to war because they can't reach an agreement because politicians have failed. Now, the politicians, when they've failed, they will turn around and start telling the people that these people are attacking us because of either our freedom or our way of life, this and that. No. Every war is about resources and territory. Yes. You understand? First time to see me smile, these guys. It is because of territory and natural resources. Now, America and China, it has come to a head. Nixon shouldn't have gone to China in the first place. He shouldn't have opened China up for business, but he did it in order to weaken the Soviet Union. Joyce Green, welcome. To weaken the Soviet Union and Somto Solomon. Okay, thank you. He did it to weaken the Soviet Union and separate China from the Soviet Union. Then finish up the Soviet Union. But by then they couldn't destroy China anymore. And the greed of the Western corporations made them embrace China and started using it as a manufacturing base, hollowing out their own industries. You see all these stories about climate change, carbon tax. No, there is nothing like a carbon tax for global warming. Watch it, it's cold now, it's chilly outside. If I show you outside now, people are still wearing jackets. In June. Then where is the global warming? What they did then was just to make sure it's very difficult for you to operate a factory in the West. Then you go out of business. The same people who hollowed out the jobs, the factories, and left you in misery will now buy it over. They still ship the remaining jobs to China. That's why when you go to many Western countries, Italy, name the country. England, Britain, France, Germany, all these people, they've lost their manufacturing. The people who haven't lost it all that much, they've lost many anyway, are the Germans. And that's why they are the ones carrying the European Union. Okay? Now, China knew what was going on. They knew that these people love money. You only entrap someone with what they love. They allowed them to manufacture this thing. Now they come and pass laws that will make it basically a free trade relationship with China. They think they are using the Chinese, not knowing that the Chinese are using them. They don't want to pay taxes, and with that taxes, they could have built their places and developed technologically. Even the technology jobs, they still move them to China. That's why Apple is being manufactured in China. When they are telling you made in California and assembled in China, tell me where they are making a single this thing. Tell me a single iPhone that was made in America and they assembled in China. No, they moved all the factories there. Now, the Chinese, when you come there, they'll give you a condition, we will own everything 50-50 with you. That 50% is for you as a Western corporation. Then the other 50 belongs to the Chinese Communist Party. From there, they will be copying the technology. Do you know that? And before you know it, they started compromising these people. Okay? From there, they started stealing their technology. Most of those technologies were not actually stolen because the factory where you are working, you see a Western engineer then sitting By his side, he says Chinese engineer. How is he going to steal something he works with? No, he will develop his own. That's why you watch all the Chinese military equipment, they look like American military equipment. They've hollowed out their jobs. The only job they left in America is the arms business, the arms industry. Meanwhile, the people that control those arm industries, those arm trades, are the same people that still own all these corporations that are manufacturing in China. From there, do you see that they don't even need to steal any document from the NSA? They just go straight to the schools. Even from the time the first scientists developed the prototype, they have it. They have it already. From then, they started developing, building their place, expanding. Now they are too strong. Guess what? They have come for Hong Kong. They've taken back Hong Kong. Britain cannot do shit. Now you know why the Chinese were building all these so-called man-made islands. The South China Sea, they want to push the Westerners as far as possible, as far as possible from their territory. That's why you see all these things springing up. And they went and gave an old fleet to the Philippines. When Duterte won the presidency, they thought he would be the strong man they need against China. Guess what? Duterte, when he was campaigning, he told them that he would ride on a what do you call this automobile, this sea automobile? What do you call this this thing? He said he will ride it and plant a Philippine flag at the South China Sea. Now America put him in power, waiting for him to do that. He told them, no, I will not fight China. If you want to fight China, you do it yourself. Now it has come to a head. It has come to a head. They can no longer do anything to China. I told you, you remember when the Chinese shot at an American plane that was approaching their territory in Djibouti. The Chinese used a laser weapon on that plane and injured 2 American servicemen. Did you hear it in the news? You didn't hear much about it. Why? It's a bad image for America for you to say that the Chinese. This thing happened years ago. Now imagine by how far China has developed. At the turn of the century, Americans started using war because they've been destroying places with wars. The West, I mean the entire West. So at a point, you start feeling too big about yourself. Nobody will stop you. The communism has fallen, this and that. You went and destroyed Yugoslavia. Okay. Then you ventured into the Middle East. All the while they were manufacturing weapons, shipping their young men and women who should be developing their places. They were fighting in Iraq and coming back in corpses, in coffins. They started coming back in coffins. While they were doing that, the Chinese were developing everything, building the things that those people should be building. Now those people will come back, no job to go back to, this and that. Some of them have been damaged mentally. Why do you think on average 22 American servicemen commit suicide every day? Every day. Every day. Are you not hollowing out your youths also? By the time they knew what was going on, the Chinese have gone far. Now the British, they are all for the money. They said they handed over China in Hong Kong to China in 19. They said how many years? 50 years in 97. 50 years where China was waiting for them. They didn't want to make any noise. Hand it over first. Then how many years later, they've taken it over. And Britain will not do shit. Britain will not do shit. Hong Kong. Do you remember when Xi Jinping went to Hong Kong and he was escorted by 10,000 troops? What do you think he was doing? He's telling them China has arrived, coming to take what's ours. Now focus on Taiwan. Now focus on Taiwan. Okay? Those of you who are talking things that are different from the topic, I'm sorry, I will block you if you try to distract me. If you think you can talk that one better, please open your own platform and go talk about it there. Don't disturb the class. Now Taiwan is the new front. Forget Hong Kong is gone forever. America cannot sanction China. You dare not. You dare not. Okay? America can't sanction China. They don't have the capacity. Every antibiotic used in the USA is being made by China. For America to fight China, they will have to prepare for at least another decade. Now, both of them will not want to sever rapidly. Why? It will damage both sides. It's supposed to be a slow and amicable divorce. Trump cannot surrender the USA to China anymore, and China knows what his plan is playing. Guess what? They have escalated it, and America won't do shit. So where does that put Africa? Okay. You need several world powers to have balance, because when you have monopoly, the person in charge will decide what to do, when to do it, and how to do things. But when you have two people, guess where they are all jostling for? Africa and the resources in Africa. That's exactly where the next war will be fought. China prepared theirs by finance. Using this, now you will know why they are too quick to give your people loans, and your people have been accepting. At this point, America and China may end up weakening each other because of Africa. It's now left for African rulers to now play one against the other. Play America against China. Play this side against this side. What will it get you? It will get you a breathing space from the IMF, from the World Bank. These are the criminals. These are the terrorist organizations you should be worried about. It's the same thing in every country. And as long as you have this central banking system, the Chinese banking system is not under their control. Russia severed themselves from it. Now the fools who should have courted Russia to strike a balance and put China in check didn't do it. Russia. Now they will need Russia. Guess what? Russia will not answer them, because they know exactly what will happen. When they are done with China, they will still come and destroy this side. They've done it before. Okay? But America is world power. Okay, we are hearing you. Go. I told you. Why do you think they've been doing military exercises and showing you new weapons every year? It's for a day like this. They know it will come. They know that a day like this will come. Now, can America strike China militarily? Let them try it. China will sink the USA in a couple of minutes. Then the US may reply and sink China in a couple of minutes also. Guess what? Both sides will lose. That's why you need to be tough. You need to be strong. Nobody gets involved in a 50-50 fight. Africans, we didn't prepare. We've been praying. We've been praying. Now is the right time for Africans, African rulers, all of them, to do what? To play this political game as it should be played. Do not take sides. Like in politics, no permanent friend, no permanent enemy. Let me tell you, if the Democrats take over the American government now, all this war with China will stop, then the factories will keep on being shipped abroad. And it will stop. Then China will keep on making more money and storing more gold. Do you know the gold reserve of China? China and Russia are the two countries with the biggest gold reserves in the world. Guess what? The Russian gold is not under the control of any external body. Just like the Chinese built Olympic-sized swimming pools they are storing gold in. Now you know why they are catching. When I told you that these Chinese illegal gold miners they are catching, these people don't look like people who own those gold. Is because they don't own them. They are all workers. Just like North Korea, every Chinese expatriate sent to your country is answerable straight to the Chinese Communist Party. Yes. Now they've prepared themselves. The war is about to begin. Some people will tell you it's an economic war, it's a cold war. There is nothing like a cold war. Do you know how many American intelligence agents that were captured in China just between 2010, I think, and 2013? Ask those who are in the intelligence community and they will tell you. Do you know how many they've killed? Do you know how many Chinese spies they've captured? Forget about the ones that are showing you in paper. There are ones that can never be broadcasted. Just like the Russians have been catching them. Now, all those people that wanted to assassinate Vladimir Putin last year, where are they? Have you heard their names? Where did they keep them? Those are the type of people they use as bargaining chips. They will put you in a prison you will never know. Sometimes that prison may be on a ship that is floating somewhere around the South Pacific or in the Indian Ocean. Yes. Yes. Politics is not what you think it is. And what you are seeing is what they want you to see. China has taken back Hong Kong. Now, when you watch the Western media, I'm not flacking for China, please. I hate China passionately. I passionately detest China, but that wouldn't stop me from saying the truth. China owns Hong Kong. They should run it the way they see fit. Do I love the way they are running things? No, I don't. But guess what? You have to say the truth. China owns Hong Kong. China owns Hong Kong. It's their property. Now, I want us to watch a small documentary. I will be analyzing it on how it's just a short documentary. You cannot tell me that 5 minutes, even 5 hours is enough to tell the history of China or the wars they fought with the British to get Hong Kong. And by the time, before you listen to anything from the US or any Western media, Britain and China fighting over Hong Kong. Please, what is the distance between London and Hong Kong? Then what's the distance between China and Hong Kong? Are they supposed to be dragging it? My brother, why you go to drag wetin no be your own? Why? Let me wait, I'm coming. World map. Okay, sorry. I'm coming, guys. You know, we love using photos. Okay. Uh-huh. I'm coming, guys. Let me share the screen. I want to show you people the screen. Hold on. Watch this map. This is the distance between London. Sorry. The distance between London and Hong Kong is over 5,000 miles. Wait, I'm trying to watch it here. I'm coming. This is London here. This is United Kingdom. This is China. Hong Kong is somewhere here. What is the business of these people from here to here? How did they get from here to here? And now you are telling somebody here who is living here that an island somewhere here that's his should be what? Have you seen how Hong Kong has disappeared from the map? Because it's China. Tomorrow, Britain will now come and start. Look at Nigeria. Look at where they are. Meanwhile, they still control whoever rules here. Just like the people here in France control whoever rules here, somehow. But the Americans are involved in all these places now anyway. Not here. Here before. Are you seeing it? Then here, somehow. Are you getting it? So before you listen to all these US and British media talking nonsense, remember who owns the place first. Now ask yourself, how did they lose it? They will be telling you how China is trying to take Hong Kong. Please, I hate China with passion, but Hong Kong belongs to China. It's their business. Africans, this is not the time to play your emotional politics. No. Nobody has democracy. It's a lie. It's a farce. It's a facade. All these things, they will start telling you, hey, Chinese are killing Christians. These are the... Why are the Americans and the British, the Westerners, why are they arming Islamic terrorist organizations in Nigeria to kill Christians and Muslims alike? Some of you will say, America is a Christian nation. Guess what? They are using Islamic fundamentalists to destroy Syria. Apart from Turkey, the only place around here as a Christian you can practice your religion as a Christian, you can as a Christian you can practice your religion very well is Syria. Then Jordan, Lebanon, some places. But the freest is Syria and Turkey. The freest are Syria and Turkey. So do not let anyone use all this nonsense about religion to make you pick sides, just like they will do it to Africans. No, you make them beg you, because both of them want your resources. This is time to free yourself from them. They have to cut you. The only person who seems to understand this is Paul Kagame and Magufuli of Tanzania, Paul Kagame of Rwanda, and the Tanzania president. Those are the two people who seem to get it. In Nigeria, they are still stuck in ancient archaic politics. Both sides of the oppositions are all answerable to the Council on Foreign Relations, the Chatham House, heavily controlled by the World Bank Group. World Bank is a private corporation, please. By International Monetary Fund, the IMF is a private corporation too. You find out that both of them don't even know anything, and Buhari, as he stands now, cannot do shit. Why? If he tries to do any nonsense, do you know what they will do to him? They will bring up all the massacres that have been going on in Nigeria under his administration. Then you will see how they are moving your money, including Buhari's family. Are you getting me? You will start seeing that at the end of the day, he will end up at the International Criminal Court. So let us forget the Buhari administration. He has demobilized himself. everywhere is disjointed. It will not happen under Buhari. Let us not lie to ourselves. Let us not lie to ourselves. But now we need to start preaching these things. Educate your people. You must not make live videos. You can just write some posts and post it. All these things is how you educate our people. Words are magic. You understand? Words are magic. It captivates the mind. When people keep hearing it, believe me, they will believe it whether true or false. But you have to be truthful. That way, nobody will shake your position. You will be proud enough to go debate anyone. You will not be afraid of any person debating you because you are saying the truth. You don't need to be a good debater to debate someone. No, you just have to know the truth and have to connect the dots. Finish. Finish. Sorry, my sister is texting me. Okay? That's all you need. That's all you need. Now, let us get into the video on how China lost Hong Kong. You will see it and see that it never changed. The system has never changed for years, for ages. Same people, same things, same formula. That's why you need to go do a history on how they took over your own country. I want to talk, we want to look into the life of Jardine Matheson. He says how Opium Wars founded Hong Kong. This is a 20-minute video, 21-minute video. My guys, 21 minutes is not enough for this. They will just be giving you headlines. Don't worry, at any flashpoint, I will pause it and explain it to you. Let's carry on.
In the year 1841, the Union Jack was raised. In the year 1841, the Union Jack was raised proudly over a barren little rock off the coast of Guangzhou. To many Chinese, this moment embodied their greatest shame. Their celestial kingdom had been cursed by a little poppy flower, whose ambrosial resin spread rot and decay throughout every level of their society. China was helpless to stop the Westerners from flooding their nation with this opium and claiming Chinese land for...
Are you seeing it? 1841. This is when the British started coming with their drugs, opium. The British royal family did not start dealing drugs today. No. It's as you see drugs, you see arms. These two businesses have been their major money maker for a long time. And these things, guess where they were getting them from? India. Places around the Indus Valley. They will take them there, come sell it to these people, and you must take it by force. 1841. In a humiliating fashion. These are British ships represented here. Are you getting it? They thought they humiliated those people. Guess what? You fall today, you can rise tomorrow if you know what you're doing. This thing signifies poppies, opium. So when they are telling you, hey, Nigerians are doing this, that is a lie. They are the masters. Why do you think they put too much security to fight, to catch people that are just taking small? Because they don't want you to compete with them in the trade. It has been their business from day one. Forget the nonsense they are telling you. It's a government business. It has always been. It didn't start today.
For their own. As dawn rose over the British Crown colony of Hong Kong, one man stood responsible for all this. He was William Jardine, one of the biggest drug lords of all time and the opium king of China. We live in the information age.
Please, there is an advert playing. Let me mute it so YouTube don't give me a strike because of the advert. Don't worry. This is an advert, so I'm meeting it. You know, we are live on YouTube.
The late 18th century, China, ruled by the imperial Qing dynasty, was the wealthiest nation on earth, controlling 65%.
Are you seeing it? 65% of the global GDP from 1750 to 1799. What China is today did not start today. These people destroyed them a long time ago. Go and do your history on the old Silk Road. You remember when I went to this ancient market in Turkey here, in Eminon. You people call it spiritual market in our place, but that place they were selling spices. Please, you remember that video I did? I showed you people. They started building that place in I think 1557 or 97 or 67. Check this year. So for long, the Chinese have been trading with the Westerners. Check the old Silk Way. This is what they want to replicate with the Belt and Way Initiative. It's payback time. China, Hong Kong is just the first salvo fired. It's just the first salvo fired. 65% of the global GDP, even though they didn't count Africa then, please. Even till now, they are not measuring our economy because your resources are being siphoned illegally by the people that are still occupying you and the puppets they left in charge. So China did not become great with the arrival of Nixon. They've been like that before. Now, with superior military might, the British destroyed them. Like I've told you before, the British Navy was founded by pirates, criminals sent by the bankers. Those were the people that were the aristocrats working on behalf of the king. Those monarchies you see, my dear, like in your place, those your kings, all of them are criminals, they are thugs. Go check them. That's why all of them, they are heavy, they are hefty. Check all the people they told you that we are kings that ruled empires. My dear, is by sheer strength. Okay? The Navy, the British Navy, was started by pirates, criminals. Now they will be allowed to go do the things in the name of the king. That way, you bring some things back, they take their own share, you take yours. That is how you started seeing all these elites in the West. No other way about it. Then the same people ran slavery. Slavery is what? Free job. You work for free and be forced to do it. Just like some of you, when I want to ask you if you are going to work, I ask you whether you are going to your slave plantation. You see, I'm not mocking jobs, I work too. Very soon, I will just go out now to the factories. I'm going to other things. So this is how it all started. This is Nepal here. Punjab. All these places. Watch it. This China-India border, as you are seeing it, that they will take it from all these places, opiums, and ship them here. I just wanted to give you back. Don't worry about watching the full video. I will share it on the page. So you go and watch it. So please forgive me if I'm stopping. It's just to make you understand it. You will watch the full video later. I will share it on the page.
Of global GDP, and its luxury products were considered second to none. For as long as Europeans had known about the Celestial Kingdom, they had craved its treasures, namely porcelain, silk, and most of all, tea. However, China had been closed off since the 15th century, allowing only incredibly limited interactions with the outside world. In 1757, the Qianlong Emperor decreed that any Westerners seeking trade with China had to do it at the southern port of Canton, isolating the potentially troublesome foreigners to one area. Furthermore, a conglomerate of wealthy Chinese merchant houses, collectively known as the Cohong, was given a government monopoly over foreign trade, allowing them to tax, tariff.
Are you seeing it? Monopoly did not start today. These days, they are using corporations to do it. Those days, it was the kings. That's why when you check deep into all these corporations, They are either people whose ancestors were kings or vassals of the kings, i.e. Halliburton, all these people you're seeing. Okay? It did not start today. It is the same old system. You understand the system before we fight it. That's what we are trying to do.
And regulate European traders. Out of all the colonial powers, it was the British whose desire for Chinese products was the greatest. Their national megacorporation, the Honorable East India Company, had found...
What name did you hear? East India Company. East India Company. The people, when they were buying all these ones, they will stop in West Africa, then pick up slaves. And the entire Africa. The West Indian Company focused on the West, which is Americas, in the Americas and the Caribbeans. The East Indian Company was Africa and Asia. Are you seeing how they divided it? East and West. Again, go to the map of Europe. You check East, you check West, the same thing. The same people who ran slavery were the same people that went to China. Are you understand? Are you getting the trick and how everything started? Don't worry, we are just 3 minutes in. 17 minutes more.
Founded a factory in Canton in 1771, but business was far from harmonious. By 1800, the company was importing more than 20 million pounds of dried tea leaf per year. Before long, some 10% of the average British household income was being spent on imported tea alone. Britain had no real products that China was interested in, and thus had to sink piles upon piles of silver to get Chinese goods. The empire's coffers were being drained dry by Chinese trade.
Are you hearing it? They ran out of money with which to buy things because they have nothing. As I said, they had nothing. Those of you that think they came to your place to bring you salvation and Christianity, no, they are running away from hunger. They were in a survival mode and they know about your place long before then. The Romans were there. The Romans knew about your place thousands of years ago. Now you know why they followed that same route to come to your place. They had nothing. They have run out of silver to pay the Chinese. Tell me where they will be digging the silver from to pay them. Now you see why they started the fight. I just want to give you a backdrop to it. Let me go back a little again for you to hear what he said. Watch it again. Listen to them again.
National megacorporation, the Honorable East India Company, had founded a factory in Canton in 1771, but business was far from harmonious. By 1800, the company was importing more than 20 million pounds of dried tea leaf per year. Before long, some 10% of the average British household income was being spent on imported tea alone. Britain had no real products that China was in.
Wait, let me block one idiot on the studio. We are not going to tolerate all these fools. Don't worry, I am going to do your Nnamdi Kanu video for this nonsense this evening. Let me see what you can do. Idiot.
Interested in, and thus had to sink piles upon piles of silver to get Chinese goods. The empire's coffers were being drained dry by Chinese trade. It is here that we must begin the story of our main character. William Jardine was born in 1784 on a small farm near Lochmaben, Scotland, under the shadow of the old castle of Robert the Bruce. His family was poor and struggled, but the boy was clever, so in the year 1800, his family saved up enough money to send him to the prestigious University of Edinburgh, where he would study to become a surgeon. Upon graduation, Jardine was hired as an employee of the East India Company, enlisting as a surgeon's mate aboard the RCS Brunswick. Thus, this 18-year-old Scotsman set off for China for the first time. After a long journey, the Brunswick arrived at Whampoa, a town some 12 miles downriver of Canton. It was a whole new world, and Jardine was immersed in the bustle of clanging gongs, crackling fireworks, and the Chinese river peoples plying the water lanes in their sampans. Over the next decade, Jardine made many journeys to China aboard company vessels. he quickly found that life as a company man was perilous.
My dear, you see that man, all these explanations, no, those were the first secret agents. You hear about CIA today, spies, or the Mungo Park, now so, now people like him. Lawrence of Arabia, people like him. Those people from what you call the middle class today, when they go to school, from there they meet with the children of all these people. Then when they need all these perilous jobs, they will give it to them to do for them. That's why all these schools you see, Harvard, your so-called Ivy League schools, are littered with spies. Even the professors teaching there work for the system. Those are the people you call the deep state in the USA, the cabal in Nigeria, the establishment in the UK. They will not tell you what he was doing. So a doctor at that time, instead of him opening a clinic in the UK and making any amount of money he would have made, was taking these perilous journeys to go there. Don't worry, you will see how this so-called doctor ended up. The person who did this documentary will not tell you that, but use your number 6. Ana Baragafa in Abuche.
In 1805, Jardine's ship was captured by a Napoleonic warship and wrecked off the coast of South Africa. He managed to find passage back to England, but in 1809...
How did he manage to find passage back to England? Because he was a company man, just like Mungo Park when he was captured. They had to pay for his release in Nigeria. In Nigeria. Side by side, the same thing, sent by who? The same people. Mungo Park was with the East Indian Company. Yes. Are you getting it? Long before he discovered River Niger. Like, seriously.
His new vessel narrowly evaded a fleet of Chinese pirates led by Chang Pao. Nevertheless, where there is danger, there is always opportunity. During the first year of Jardine's tenure as a surgeon, the East India Company had found a dubious way to erase their trade deficit. It was, of course, opium. The product that grew in the British territory of Bengal was the highest quality in the world and incredibly addictive. It was this addiction that would...
Now they don't have money to pay, they'll have to pay you in opium. Now you will see what happened when the Chinese rejected it. Are you getting it? Don't worry. You see all these things, they caught 15 containers of this one there. My dear, now government get them. Can you ship 200 out on your own? And if they allow you to go, they say, hey, they settle these people. No, you are not settling anybody. You are working for those people, but you don't know. No ordinary individual had that power to run such an operation. No. Escobar worked with the CIA. Then when they wanted to turn on him, he wanted to destroy them by paying off the Colombian debt. Maybe he didn't understand that all those national debts you're seeing is just your slave tag. You cannot remove it. That was when he started. Then they moved to the Ochoa brothers. Fuck them. I know the history. I even wrote it. I've told the story severally. I connected Escobar, Barrisel, the Bush family, the Clintons through the Mina connection, Mina Arkansas. I posted it on Twitter. Escobar saw, retweeted it, liked it, followed me. Some minutes later, Twitter deleted my account. Is there. My dear, these people, they don't worry.
Generate Chinese demand for the product. Opium was illegal in China, and the East India Company did not want to jeopardize their foothold in Canton by engaging openly in forbidden trade. So, instead of importing the drug into China themselves, they produced it en masse in their factories in Bengal and sold it to private Indian agencies, who then passed the product to unscrupulous smugglers who would sneak it into China and return with the profits.
Hi. Pop this advert. Sorry, guys. I don't want YouTube to give me a strike.
This was a big deal, as formerly the East India Company had held a government-mandated monopoly on all British trade going to China. By allowing private traders to do business for them, they put their own fate in jeopardy. The temptation to strike out as a legally mandated drug trafficker was all too tempting to many company employees who were willing to sacrifice moral integrity to get rich quick. In 1817, he left the East India Company. Entering into a business partnership with some old acquaintances, he managed to purchase his first ship, the Sarah. In 1819,
A doctor. How much was the salary of a doctor aboard a ship, and how was he able to purchase a ship? The person telling you this thing will not say. In 1819, do you know what it means to own a ship? It's like owning a space rocket. Okay? 1819. Go check how many people that are ship builders. And how was he able to afford a ship? How? You see how they jumped and just told you he managed to. How? First off, he was shipwrecked and later found his way to London. How? Because they paid for his release. Now he is buying a ship. How? Who sent him? Don't worry, we are coming.
The Scotsman sailed for Bombay, where he was reunited with an old friend, Jamsetji Jejeebhoy, an Indian merchant of Zoroastrian Parsi extraction. Jejeebhoy had been aboard the Brunswick with Jardine when it was boarded by the French back in 1805. Now he was the head of one of Bombay's largest opium agencies, and Jardine's main supplier of opium for many years to come. Jardine and his associates became one of the more well-known opium cliques in the East. With each successful smuggling run, more partners joined, bringing with them ships, men, and assets. But among all of them, only one, a fellow Scotsman, would truly be Jardine's equal. James Matheson was an aspiring businessman in the employ of a wealthy Portuguese merchant, to whom he was something of an adopted son. When the latter died, Matheson inherited his ships and joined Jardine's growing fleet of smugglers. Matheson was every bit as cunning, ambitious, and wholly amoral as his new partner, and soon the two Scotsmen became the most dynamic duo on the South China Sea.
Because they are both puppets, okay? They are both puppets. Go check the rulers of all the European kingdoms. The Portuguese crown, the Spanish crown, the Russian crown, or the German crown, the Italian crown, the British crown, the French crown, the Austro-Hungarian crown, the Habsburgs. They are all related and they all work together. They all own those resources you are seeing. They all own them. 1 minute. Hello, one. Hello? Okay? That's what they are. That's who they are. That my people, please, let me rush it.
In 1832, they restructured their business and co-founded the company known as Jardine Mathesons & Co. A year later, the British Parliament finally revoked the East India Company's trade monopoly, allowing Jardine and Matheson to fill the power vacuum. Smuggling illegal drugs onto the coast of a highly isolationist nation was a dangerous affair, and required intelligence, skill, and a great deal of luck. For Jardine Mathesons, the process usually began in India, where the Scotsmen acquired massive amounts of opium from their Parsi suppliers. The product was transported back to China aboard clippers. These cutting-edge modern sailing ships were capable of outpacing even steam-powered vessels.
That's what they used. That's what they used to destroy our people. When they started bringing these particular ships, go and check when this thing started and when they destroyed all the strong people at the coast that were fighting them. Okay? It has always been about domination. It has always been about territory. It has always been about resources. It has nothing to do with ideology. There is nothing like an ideological war. It's a lie. Ideology is what they brainwash you with, then give you gun to go and fight on their behalf. On their behalf. That's what makes you a slave.
The Chinese demand for opium meant that there were always native buyers, and prominent smuggling hubs soon developed in the ports of Whampoa, Macau, and Linton. To get around Chinese laws, British drug lords anchored large cargo ships offshore, which served as floating depots where they stored the opium. This allowed them to technically argue that they weren't selling opium on Chinese soil. Pretty much everyone saw this farce for what it was, but centuries of isolation meant that the Qing government had no real navy to speak of and was powerless to deal with the superior firepower of the British clippers. Additionally,
are you seeing it? Superior firepower. That is what rules everything. That's what rules the world. Always have your weapons. Stop praying for Holy Ghost fire. Holy Ghost fire, if it existed, they wouldn't have told you about it. People armed with guns, all manner of weapons, gave you Holy Ghost fire and you took. Okay.
The drug trade had corrupted every level of Chinese society, and there were more than enough officials willing to turn a blind eye in exchange for bribes. Ironically, the Cohong, which was specifically tasked to contain European influence, had become the key accomplice in the drug trade. From the floating depots, Chinese smugglers would buy opium in bulk in exchange for bullion of silver, then store the drug in speedy crafts known as fast crabs and scrambling dragons, and sail them up the shallow riverways of China, disseminating the addictive product throughout the nation. Meanwhile, the British traders would take their silver and use it to purchase precious tea from the Cohong in Canton, which they then shipped back home. Jardine never questioned the ethics of his business. Before long, the illegal smuggling of him and his competitors had created a nationwide health epidemic. The productivity of Chinese society tanked, as everyone from the lowest of peasants to the emperor's own palace guards could be found wasting away in hidden drug dens. The addiction was so dire that poor villages that had no rice to feed their people still ran opium stores to feed their morbid addiction. Between 1834 to 1841, Jardine Matheson's fleet grew into 19 great clippers and hundreds of smaller lurcher boats, more than any other private trading company in China. The pair had become impossibly wealthy, but now they were at the top. The challenge was to stay there, and Jardine was careful to cultivate an aura of authority around himself so that none would challenge him. He operated his drug empire out of an office in Canton, known as the Creek Hung. In it there was only one chair, his own. Visitors were not allowed to sit in the presence of Jardine, stressing the importance of his time. One anecdote tells a story that once, while Jardine was on a business trip at the gates of Canton, a local Chinese, contemptuous of the foreign devils, struck him hard over the head with a piece of timber. Jardine did not even flinch at the blow and continued on his way as if nothing had happened.
A doctor was struck. He didn't flinch as if anything happened. Doctor! A doctor. I don't know if you got it well. A doctor. A doctor. Let's go back. Let's rewind a little. Let's go. Listen, a doctor used to, yeah, na confirm mafia. Tough men. Forget the nonsense they gave you, the history they gave you. What you are reading as a history today was a newspaper article or publication in that day. Now, do you think they will tell you the truth about him? Watch. How did we all know that Buhari was Mr. Integrity? From the media, what we read. Now, we forgot to understand that those days they silenced many media houses and allowed only a few to operate. Everything we know about him was written by, all the things we know about him were written by the same people. They allowed. Now they told you he's a doctor. What is this the attributes of a doctor? Or are these the attributes of a doctor? Let's continue.
Known as the Creek Hung. In it there was only one chair, his own. Visitors were not allowed to sit in the presence of Jardine, stressing the importance of his time.
Doctor.
One anecdote tells a story that once while Jardine was on a business trip at the gates of Canton, a local Chinese, contemptuous of the foreign devils, struck him hard over the head with a piece of timber. Jardine did not even flinch at the blow and continued on his way as if nothing had happened. For this incident, he was nicknamed by the locals as the Iron-Headed Old Rat. At this point, every other trader in Canton referred to Jardine as the Taipan, a Chinese term roughly translating to supreme leader or the big shot. By 1838, the number of Chinese addicts was estimated to be anywhere from 4 to 12 million, largely a legacy of his influence. It seemed as if there was no one in China capable of stopping the illegal drug empire. That is, until the arrival of Lin Zexu. Lin Zexu was a special imperial commissioner acting on behalf of the Daoguang Emperor, who had ordered him to put an end to China's opium crisis by any means necessary. An incredibly well-respected figure, he was known to his people as Blue Sky, who considered him as pure and incorruptible as the heavens. One of Lin's first tactics was to appeal directly to the top. In 1838, he wrote an imploring letter to Queen Victoria, appealing to her sense of morality by highlighting the damage her citizens had done to China. The commissioner hoped that his words would move the young monarch into putting a stop to the opium trade, but she never received the letter.
It's a lie. She received the letter. The family are the top beneficiaries of the business. How can she not receive the letter? How can you, a royal seal? Huh? How can she not receive the letter? Then she appealed to her moral appeal or whatever. I don't even know the word he used. My dear, go and check the history of that so-called Queen Victoria. Till date, we still have a place we call Victoria Island in Nigeria. We still have the place we call Victoria Falls in what is it in Uganda or South Africa, and Lake Victoria in East Africa, Uganda and the rest. How can she be moral when at that time their people were killing our own people back home? And he thought the letter, this guy doing this documentary, does he think we are fools? Who? Moral, British monarchy and morality? Wow. A pregnant virgin. I hear you. Not confusing at all.
Getting no response, Lin decided it was time to lay down an iron fist. Within only a few months, he had arrested 1,700 Chinese opium dealers and confiscated 70,000 opium pipes. Terrified of the imperial commissioner, the Hong merchants pleaded with the British traders in Canton to give up their product, but they refused to do so. Lin responded to this by effectively laying siege to the foreign quarter of Canton, surrounding it with troops and isolating it from the outside world. He went so far as to cut off their food and water supply and have his men endlessly bang huge gongs so as to keep the merchants deprived of sleep. Present at this showdown was Matheson, who insisted that his fellow drug lords should refuse to capitulate, convinced that Lin was bluffing. Fortunately, a new arrival would calm the rising tensions. The British Chief Superintendent of Trade, Charles Elliot, regarded the opium trade with disdain and wished to prevent all-out war from brewing over the drug. To that end, he confiscated all the opium in Canton from the British traders, while promising the merchants that they would be compensated for their loss. The opium was then turned over to Lin Zexu, who...
Do you see how he gave Charles Elliot a free pass there? That he detests the opium trade. Then if he detested it, why didn't he destroy them when he took it? Rather, they had to compensate the traders. What's the sense of confiscating it when you got paid for it? It's just like saying that the Anglican Church, release their slaves. No, they got paid before they released them. Guess who the money went to? The British monarchy, because they are the head of the Anglican Church. You check the Anglican Church emblem, the British crown sits atop it. Who
had it all destroyed in bonfires. For their compliance, the Honorable Mandarin supplied 250 cattle to the starving merchants.
Wait, guys, I want to help someone again. For 30 minutes, where is it? I have been listening for 30 minutes. You don't need to listen. You don't need to be here since you haven't understood anything. This class is not for you. Don't worry. Let her comment again. I want to see. Comment again, idiot.
Elliot and Lynn's negotiations came very close to preventing a crisis, but the former hadn't the authority to promise that the British government would compensate the traders for their now incinerated product, and back in England, Parliament refused to pony up, insisting instead that the Chinese government had to compensate the traders. After all, it had been them who torched the goods. Every opium runner in China had just lost incalculable amounts, and they weren't getting it back. They wanted compensation, and they wanted war. To accomplish this, they turned to the greatest among them, the Taipan, Jardine. Jardine was incensed at the destruction of his property. For several years, he had entertained the idea of provoking a war between Britain and China. Now, he considered it a necessity. In September of 1839, Jardine arrived in London, where he started lobbying with the Secretary of British Foreign Affairs, Henry John Temple, Viscount of Palmerston. The Scottish drug lord impressed upon Palmerston the necessity of war. He knew the coastlines of China better than anyone.
I'm coming, guys. Okay.
Any Britain, and in a missive known as the Jardine Paper, he laid out a detailed plan for victory. This included...
Now you know that he was actually an agent. The doctor was sent, not a ship captain, not anyone, not even the people in the front line, a doctor. He went back to the people that sent him to give them the news and tell them what will go on and what is was supposed to be done. Are you hearing it? From time immemorial, it had always been the corporations that decide the foreign policy of these people. That's why I keep hammering on the Council on Foreign Relations, the Chatham House. One is in America, one is in the UK. These two groups, they are the people that have been writing the British foreign policy. When you hear them talk about American interests, no, they are talking the interests of the American corporations. Or British interest is the interest of the British corporations. You see why they've been sending these people. Those are the ones that will be keeping an eye on the captains, because the captains have to take their own share and return some to the crown. So let's continue. It's almost over.
Did a detailed battle strategy and how many men and ships would be required to carry it out. Jardine wished to force the Daoguang Emperor to make 3 concessions. Firstly, the financial value of all the opium Lin Zexu had burned would be compensated in full.
Wait, why was the king's hand sending a message to Queen Victoria? Try and remember, this person told us he was just because of her morals. He was just because of your morality. I implore you to do this thing. Are you seeing? If she was moral, why would she ask these people for all these concessions? 1, compensation for burnt opium. And you are telling me that the letter did not get to her? No, they will do everything to shield the names of these people from being exposed for the murderers they are. From being exposed for the criminals they are. These are bandits. These are criminals. It did not start today. Let's continue.
Secondly, the Canton system and the Cohong would be abolished, and 4 additional Chinese ports, Fuzhou, Ningbo, Shanghai, and Xiamen, would be open to British trade. Thirdly, and most importantly, an island off the coast of China had to be ceded to the British Crown, a permanent base where British companies could operate under British law, rather than suffer under stringent Chinese commissioners like Lin Zexu. Jardine had a few suggestions on where this new colony should be, but he had his heart set on one in particular, a barren little rock just off the Kowloon Peninsula in Guangzhou. Jardine, Mathesons and Co. had used the island to smuggle opium in the past, and the Taipan knew that it had a naturally protected harbour. It was the perfect trading hub. Known to the fishermen who lived there as the Fragrant Harbour, this island was, of course, Hong Kong.
Did you get that? Did you catch that? Let me rewind it for you to catch it again if you didn't. Listen.
Had to be ceded to the British Crown, a permanent base where British companies could operate under British law, rather than suffer under stringent Chinese commissioners like Lin Zexu. Jardine had a few suggestions on where this new colony should be, but he had his heart set on one in particular, a barren little rock just off the Kowloon Peninsula in Guangzhou. Jardine, Mathesons and Co. had used the island to smuggle opium in the past, and the Taipan knew that it had a naturally protected harbour. It was the perfect trading hub. Known to the fishermen.
Your father has whatever nonsense. You think here is for fools. That's a senior class, so.
Who lived there as the Fragrant Harbour. This island was, of course, Hong Kong. Soon, Lord Palmerston caved under Jardine's pressure, and the British Empire finally declared war on China. It was a quick and one-sided affair. Chinese spears, bows, and matchlock muskets were no match for the cutting-edge British firepower, while the Imperial Qing armies were losing manpower, with many of its soldiers frail from opium, the very drug that had led them into the war in the first place. Relying largely upon the war plans drawn out by Jardine.
Are you getting it? The British returned with a superior firepower. Guess what? The Chinese now have a superior firepower than the British. Yes. The Chinese have now come back to do what? Take back what is theirs. So let not your hatred of China get involved in this one. That land belongs to the Chinese. But we have other ways we will fight this. Let us finish it first.
British had all but won the First Opium War by 1841. The iron-headed old rat had come out on top, and all of his war goals were achieved. Meanwhile, Lin Zexu was scapegoated for China's loss. Considered responsible for the Celestial Kingdom's great humiliation, he was exiled to remote Xinjiang. For Jardine, Hong Kong was the ultimate prize, a culmination of his many years of hard labour. Once it had been officially ceded to Britain, he and Matheson quickly set to work, turning the bleak rock into the great colonial entrepot of the East. It was not a smooth transition, as typhoons and fires sabotaged early construction, malaria ravaged its settlers, and seaborne piracy was rampant. Nevertheless, the Scottish partners pushed on.
Now, you see why China wants everywhere around here. This is the South China Sea. This is the South China Sea. Now you see why they've come for it. They've started developing islands over here. Please, my brother, if you did not start the program, hold on. When we finish, you go and start afresh, please. It's not a long video. If you didn't start with us, hold on, you will not get it.
Continuing to be major promoters of the struggling island, Matheson established their company's new head office on the island's east point in 1842, while warehouses, wharves and houses were built to accommodate the firm's business operations and employees. Hong Kong quickly turned into a boom town, doubling in population from 7,000 to 15,000 within its first year. while it would be untrue to say that Jardine Matheson's and Co. were the sole driving force behind Hong Kong's success, it is unlikely that the tiny colony would have become the booming city it is today without the investment of the Scottish drug lords. At some point in 1842, William Jardine became afflicted with cancer. He continued to run his trading empire through his sickness, but on February 27, 1843, the great Taipan passed away at the age of 59. The Crown Colony of Hong Kong continued to flourish, especially as a center for a newly resurgent opium trade, which the Chinese were now doubly helpless to stop. Following Jardine's death, the business was helmed at first by James Matheson and later by their descendants. As the fragrant harbour evolved from a colonial frontier into one of the world's most bustling trade cities, the descendants of William Jardine were always there at the center of it all, each of them bearing the title of Taipan as their ancestor had. Today, Jardine Matheson Holdings Limited is Hong Kong's largest private employer.
Jardine Matheson Holdings is the Hong Kong largest private employer. Go to Nigeria today. Joe Halliburton came to Nigeria. He focused on the oil business. Meanwhile, he was a warlord. Today, go to Iraq. Go to the Middle East. Halliburton played a key role in those wars, and they benefited by supplying things, bringing all these contractors that are working there. Go to Nigeria today, Joe Halliburton, the same thing. Now go to Hong Kong, Jardine Matheson, the bigger. Yet, you don't see their names anywhere on Forbes for two reasons. Why? They are not as rich as they are saying they are here. Two, they need to keep those families secret so you don't get it. Meanwhile, they are not their own bosses. They work for the British monarchy. Now you know why they told you that the Queen owns Hong Kong. Let's continue. It's almost over.
Second only to the government. A worldwide corporation, it has subsidiaries in cars, insurance, real estate, hygiene products, and hotels, among others. From these lofty...
That is monopoly. That is monopoly. They monopolize the whole thing. That is how they own things. And the people you see in front are not the owners. That's example, Aliko Dangote, he doesn't own himself. Are you getting it?
Peaks, we must not forget the humble origins and troubled history of Jardine Matheson's, which ultimately is the story of a peasant boy in the Scottish lowlands whose endless ambition saw him slowly become one of the most infamous drug lords of all time, and in doing so, forever changing the face of the Chinese world.
And no mention of the British monarchy as the people that sent him. My people, are you seeing it before the propaganda starts flying? Please just be well equipped on this. Okay? Equip yourself with this information and no one will bullshit you. Equip yourself this way and you will always be ahead of the game. Again, we need to join. Africans need to benefit from this because they will be going for an all-out economic war. That way, we'll fix ourselves where we'll be at the middle. We'll benefit from this person, we'll benefit from this person, and when the time is right, you bring Russia as the central, as a neutral body. Give them access to your waterways. They will not invade you with any navy. You see all the military bases they are building around Nigeria, it will be hopeless and useless. Why? They can't fight wars in African soil. They can't fight wars on Africa, on African soil. On behalf of Africans, no, we have eyes. We have eyes, we have ears, we have our brains intact, our thinking faculty intact. This is how African can benefit. And it's not an ideological war. No, it's not a war about freedom. Nobody is free. No one is free. It's not a war about the system of government. No, it's about resources and territorial control. This is the only way Africans can save themselves from these people. Okay? Are you getting me, my people? Study these people and nothing will get you confused anymore. They will not confuse you with their news. That's why there is no TV in this house. Never watched any television since 2014. Do I look uninformed or ill-informed to you? Do I? So next time you hear the story, that was how China lost Hong Kong. They've taken it back. But we need that fight between them. Do you know the people that will be benefiting from this at the end of the day? Russia, India. Russia and India. Guess who should take steps? Africa. And if Western corporations start closing their factories in China, don't assume they will take all of them to what do you call it? To America. No, now Africans will tell them, since you are taking these resources, you have to build out those factories here. But who has the leg to do it? No one. Most of them have been compromised. Some of them have committed many genocides. If they do nonsense, they will send them to jail. They will send them to jail. It is that simple. It is that simple. So any question, please. And guys, please, I want to show you, those of you that are just joining us, please, we can lose this Facebook account at any time. I want you to check out my YouTube channel, Ijele Speaks. Please come subscribe to my YouTube channel, and the guys on YouTube, I see you all. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ijele Speaks. So if they close us here, we continue from there, because we are ready for war with any person who hates the truth. We will keep on speaking the truth, and nothing will happen without fear or favor. We don't fear anyone. Ijele is speaking. And we must continue to speak. Please come subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ijele Speaks. So any question? What's the question? We even have leaders. My brother, don't worry. We will show their masters in the UK, in France, and all these people. We are supposed to be protesting in their streets and tell their people what's going on. They don't want their people to know. They don't want their people to know. That's why we need to link hands with their own people and destroy them. They are carrying cups in hand towards both sides. Who will do? Don't worry, it will change. It will soon change. Thank you, my brother. Good education. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Africa can't take any step because we have a leader. Don't worry, they need to be tutored. We are just talking. Lord, not God have made you see you are wasting. My brother, where was your Lord Nnamdi Kanu in 2005 when I was writing articles they were publishing in newspapers against privatization, which is what made you poor today? Where was your Lord Nnamdi Kanu when they were publishing my articles in 2007? If he opened your eyes, he didn't open mine. Okay? How old do you think I am? How old do you think I was in 2005? What would show me the thing he has done since then? Idiot. Get out. They have a plan to move all the company to India and Vietnam. Of course, my brother, you're right. That's why we need to push them. Bring it here or you lose it. Bring it here or you lose it. Thank you. Do you support separate? My people, where did they go? I don't understand. Come ask your questions. Leave those people. They will not come. What do they know? Why France now print West African currency? Those things can equally be changed. Those things can equally be changed. And the person that is talking nonsense about your Lord, have you heard your Lord talk about this thing? Huh? Don't worry, keep on making that comment and I'll start analyzing his videos. You know, I fear no one, and you people won't do shit, okay? You people won't do shit. You are earning this program. If many people will wake up. If they want to wake up, let them wake up. He has been here since. Mazi, how can Africa move forward from it? My brother, didn't you watch the video? Didn't you watch the video? You should call them a lot. My dear, now the people where would oh. My brothers, you are the one mentioning his name, and you are the one asking me this nonsense question. Who mentioned his name first here? You people, you see how you people are looking for trouble when someone wants to give it to you, you start recoiling. Respect yourself. Stop mentioning any useless name here. This page belongs to me. He did not, nobody bought this thing for me. You people will raise the issue, and when I want to talk about it, you start talking nonsense. Get the fuck out of here if you don't like what I'm preaching. I'm not here to play. I'm not a narrow-minded individual. I have other things I'm talking about. Respect yourselves. Please, Jerry, post your YouTube page link here so we can. Ijele Speaks. Just go to YouTube and type Ijele Speaks. Let me show you this thing here. See it here. Ijele Speaks. That's the page. That's the YouTube channel. Subscribe to it, guys. You people will be looking for trouble. I'm still complain. Wait, oh, is this a reply to someone or wait? Let me see this one. Okay, wait, let me block this one first. They're quite dozen. Come on, write again. My people, as you know, children will always come to do nonsense. But the mission must go. My people, we will keep on educating our people. This is how you destroy these people. As one, you can't do anything. Africans need to unite. And uniting is not just talking about language. No. It's uniting under one cause, which is freedom. And the only way you get it is Pan-Africanism. You cannot negotiate with this present crop of leaders in Africa. You must remove them first. You must remove them first. My dear, nobody is distracting me. We are done with the preaching. So if they want to bring the problem, they are bringing it upon themselves. We are done with listen. Guys on YouTube, I thank you for joining me. I will have to end the YouTube stream now because I don't want it to go past 1 hour 30 minutes. Thanks, guys on YouTube.